Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I show you how to propagate petunias from cuttings. So let's go. Today's video is going to focus on how to create free plants, specifically petunias, supertunias, as well as superbells. In other words, the process that I'm going to show you will apply to any of these plants. But remember, if you're going to propagate any plant, not just the plants we're talking about today, if they have a patent or a trademark on them, you have to be really careful. It's okay for you to be doing it for your home garden. You don't want to be selling those kind of plants because that's considered illegal. The plants we're going to be talking about today are considered an annual in my garden, New Hampshire Zone 5B. However, they are a perennial in certain gardens, usually in zones 9 through 11. The biggest reason why you want to propagate a plant from a cutting is to get an exact duplicate of the parent plant. I've propagated this type of plant from cuttings many times in the past. It's very easy to do. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to keep referring to the plant as petunias. The best time to propagate petunias from cuttings is during their active growing period. When you first buy the plant during the late spring, early summer months, that's considered active period. And what I mean by that is that's the most optimal time, but that's not the only time. So you can do this process during the late spring or early summer months, basically as soon as you see this plant showing up in your garden center. You can even do this process during the late summer or early fall months, basically before a frost hits your plant. And the reason for doing it during that time of the year is if you're planning to overwinter the plant, especially indoors under grow lights. Here we are, it's still winter where I live, so I'll be doing this process now. And I'm able to do this because I have a mother plant that I've overwintered in my unheated garage. And the reason I'm doing this right now is it does take a little bit of time to take the cuttings, to get them to root, get the plants to establish themselves to a nice size, but I want them ready to go before my average last frost date, which is around May 15th. So I'll be doing this process about 3 months before my average last frost date. If you have this plant out in your landscape and you want to take cuttings from it, the best time of day to do it is usually in the morning hours. The reason is this is when the plant is most hydrated. It prevents the stems from drying out during that critical period of time when you're waiting for it to root. You always want to choose a healthy stem that doesn't have any flowers on it. And if all you can find are stems that do have flowers on them or flower buds on them, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure you remove any flowers or flower buds that you're preparing for cuttings. The reason you don't want to keep any flowers or flower buds on your cuttings is that you want to tell the cutting to put its energy into creating roots, not to support any of the flowers or flower buds that are on the stem. So not only will we be doing this process together, I'm also going to show you as a bonus some cuttings that I took and how they're looking. To make my own potting mix for indoor plants, I start with 4 parts of peat moss, although you can use cocoa coir. Parts are measured with whatever you're using for scooping. In my case, I'm using a bowl. Next, I add 1 part of perlite. The next ingredient is 1 part of vermiculite. Many people like to use fine vermiculite. I've used coarse and it's also worked well for me. And then I like to sprinkle the top with pulverized dolomitic limestone. It's a good idea to add lime if you're using peat moss, as it helps reduce the acidity levels. If you're using cocoa coir, you can omit the lime. After boiling water in a tea kettle, I pour the boiling water over my DIY potting mix. This water not only pre-moistens my mix, but because it's boiling water, it kills off any chances of fungus gnat eggs that might be in my peat moss. I want to make sure I'm mixing everything really well because I want to reach all parts of the mix. I then continue adding boiling water and mixing everything up really well. After I'm all done, I tamp down the mix and then I cover it and I let it cool before I use the mix. Next, we're going to fill a container. This is just a 3-inch pot, but you can use whatever you want. Just make sure that it has drainage holes in the bottom of it. And I'm just going to go ahead and add my pre-moistened potting mix in here. I like to basically shake the potting mix like this because I want to get the potting mix to settle. I don't want there to be any sort of air pockets. And as I do that, I just continue adding more of the pre-moistened potting mix. Then I can press down gently. I don't want to press down too hard because I don't want to compact the potting mix. And now the pot is ready to be filled. You want to use a sharp, clean, or sterilized cutting tool, such as pruning shears, scissors, or a razor blade. Cut a 3 to 6 inch tip from a non-flowering, healthy green stem. Avoid old woody growth like this because it will root slower for you. We have 2 sets of leaves here. When you make your cut, you want to cut it right below a set of leaves. There's our cutting, The next thing you want to do is strip the lower half of the leaves. You're aiming to have at least 2, if not 3 areas where the leaves were, and those should be below soil level. But it's also important to leave some leaves on the top there because that's how the plant will photosynthesize and give energy to create roots down below. So we have one area here where there were leaves, and we have another area here where we had leaves. Those are the 2 areas that will definitely be below soil level. And then we're also leaving a couple of sets of leaves up above. And if I had a flower or a flower bud forming, I would want to remove that at this point. Also, if the leaves on the top here were very big, I could just come in and snip the leaves in half. It will still photosynthesize, but it's basically not putting so much energy into supporting such big leaves. This step is optional, but when I take cuttings and bring them into my house, I like to spray them with insecticidal soap. And this is because I don't want to bring in any sort of bugs or insects. And I just want to make sure I'm fully spraying it, the top of the leaves as well as the bottom of the leaves. Sometimes you just never know if there's one tiny little aphid on there, and that's enough to do a lot of damage, especially if you have other plants that you have in your house. Even though rooting hormone is optional, I like to use it. I have a lot of success with it. You can use whichever rooting hormone you like. This is the one that I've been using for years. And I went ahead and I poured some of the rooting hormone in this small dish. I don't want to be dipping my cuttings directly into this container, just because I don't want to contaminate it. I'm going to use this pen to make some holes. And I'm going to make 4. It's up to you how many cuttings you want to take. You definitely want to take more than one, just because not all of them are going to take. The larger the container you're using, the more cuttings you can place in it. And the reason I did this is I don't want to take the cutting and just stick it right directly in there. Some of the rooting hormone will come off my cutting if I do that, and also I risk damaging my cutting. You want to dip your cutting in the rooting hormone and get it nice and coated, but then it's a good idea to shake off any excess hormone. Go ahead and place your cutting in the hole that you made, and then just press down at the base of it. You want to make sure that the cutting is nice and secure and anchored. And I'm just going to come in and cut off this leaf just because it's a little bit larger. I'm going to do the same process with 3 more cuttings, and then I'll show you what's next. And all 4 cuttings have now been placed. Again, I made sure to have about 2 leaf nodes below soil level and then 2 sets of leaves above soil level. This is optional, but I created a tag that says the date that I took my cuttings. I also put 2 weeks out, which is March 7th, so that way I know if I want to tug on them, I will wait until March 7th or afterwards. I've been taking a lot of cuttings recently, so I'm just reusing some of the bags that I have. You can use whatever you want for a humidity dome, but these little sandwich bags have been working out perfect for me. I don't tend to seal the bottom of it with like a rubber band, but you can do that as well. The big thing is you want to make sure that whatever you're using for a humidity dome is not touching the cuttings. You just want to make sure that those cuttings have good airflow, good air circulation. And since my house is very dry, adding this will create a nice little humid environment for my cuttings. The cuttings need somewhere between 75 to 90% humidity. Make sure you place your cutting in bright, indirect light. You want to avoid direct sun. I'm going to be placing these under my LED shop lights, which are on 16 hours a day. They come on at 5 a.m., they go off at 9 p.m. They're set up on a timer. I like doing this process for a number of reasons. One reason is if I have a plant that's looking very scraggly, very leggy, a lot of times it benefits the plant from giving it a little bit of a haircut, from trimming it back, and that usually happens during the middle of summer. Well, you might as well take those cuttings and get them to root. And that way, with those cuttings, if you were to propagate them, you would not only have plants that potentially could bloom for you later in the summer months, you could also take those plants and grow them on so that you could overwinter them. I mean, after all, who doesn't love free plants? Some people have successfully propagated this plant in water. The reason I prefer to propagate it in potting mix is there's less chance of the stems or the cuttings rotting. But feel free to experiment with both processes and see which works best for you. Petunias like a nice warm soil as they're waiting to root, somewhere between 70 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're trying to propagate the cuttings in a cool space, you may want to use a seedling heat mat. Just make sure you're using it with the thermostat. And the reason is you don't want the soil to be too hot. And if you are going to put your cuttings on a seedling heat mat, Just know that the soil will dry out faster. So it's very important to make sure you're keeping the soil moist but not soggy. When I took my cuttings, I originally did put them on a seedling heat mat. I did find that the soil was drying out a little too fast for my liking, and since my house stays generally warm, around 68, 69 degrees Fahrenheit, although it does dip down in the nighttime, it gets down to about 58 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I still chose to remove my cuttings off of the heat mat and let them root naturally. It may be a little bit slower that way, but they eventually did root. So if you're new to taking cuttings or you're worried about the soil drying out, then I recommend not using a heat mat as long as the space that you're growing the cuttings in stays relatively warm. Heat mat or not heat mat, make sure that the soil stays moist but not soggy. While the humidity dome is on, you'll see condensation forming. If for whatever reason you don't see any condensation, feel free to take some water and just spritz it on the leaves of your cuttings. Be patient. The cuttings may take about 2 weeks to root. If you use the rooting hormone, they should root faster for you. Without the rooting hormone, they will root, they'll just take a little bit longer. The cuttings will grow faster in a warmer space and a little bit slower in a cooler space. And that's okay. They will eventually root for you as long as you follow the steps outlined in this video. Although it's tempting to check and see if roots are forming, try not to do it until at least 2 weeks have passed. And then once 2 weeks have passed, you just want to gently give it a tug and see if there's resistance. If there's resistance, that means some roots have started to form. Now, here are my exciting results of propagating petunias from cuttings. And you can see I took a number of different cuttings, and here's some information that's on the tag. I took these cuttings on January 19th, and today is February 21st. So 1 month has passed, and you can see just how beautiful the roots are on these cuttings. At this point, the humidity dome has been removed, and I'm watering from above. I'm continuing to only water when the soil is starting to dry out. Again, I don't want the soil to be extremely soggy or wet. I'm also fertilizing my cuttings. I'm only giving them a half a strength of fertilizer, and that's just because I have a bunch of seedlings going on inside in my grow room, and they're all getting a half a strength of fertilizer. As the cutting gets a little bit bigger, I can definitely give it a full strength of fertilizer. And I want to be diligent about giving fertilizer about every 1 to 2 weeks. I most likely will have to pot up these cuttings as they get a little bit bigger. And as my average last frost date approaches, I'll have to harden off the plants before I get them in my landscape. I usually like to do that slowly over a 7-day period. Please let me know in the comments if you've ever propagated petunias, supertunias, or superbells from cuttings. And if so, how did you do it? Did you put them in potting mix or did you put them in water? Or maybe you did a different method. Also, let me know in the comments if this video inspired you to give this method a try. And if you like this content, please consider hitting the like button, just so I know to make more videos like this one. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.